Hello, and welcome back to Pattern Shift in 2025. I'm so glad that you're back, and welcome if this is a first time listen for you. Today, I will be sharing 4 interviews that I had with small businesses that were selling at the Handwerkbeurs, which is the needlecraft fair in the middle of the Netherlands. I will share with you the reason why I'm actually interviewing them, which sounds a little bit odd because I've got a podcast. What more reason do you need? Well, I have an alternative motive, and I'll tell you about that. In the interviews, I actually ask these business owners the same questions, and then at the end, I will combine what I've heard into some conclusions and some ideas and some insights. So here we go. I hope you enjoy this. And if you want to join the conversation, you can send me a message or join the community via patternshift.fm. Have fun. Are you running a textile craft business or dreaming of starting one? Whether you are trying to make a living or something extra on the side, turning from crafter to business owner can be a steep learning curve. It doesn't have to be. With 16 years of experience in running small business in textile crafts and a drive to build a solid alternative to fast fashion, my mission is to provide you with no BS, actionable exercises and strategies in a language that makes sense to you, that you can implement right away so you can organize, build, and grow your business. Don't burn out before you get started. Build a solid base with the help of Pattern Shift podcast and the Javol community and its programs. I have visited the Handwerkbeurs in the center of the Netherlands, which is a needlecraft fair. And I visited last Sunday, which was Sunday, 12th of January. I interviewed a bunch of small businesses that were selling, basically just giving them 3 questions to figure out who they are, what drives them, and all of those kind of quick, important things that I need to know in my quest to support business owners in the needlecraft industry, being clear and honest about my own journey in ethical marketing and branding and finding my balance in my business is going to help you to understand what it is that I think is important in small business. As you probably know, if you're not a first-time listener, I have been struggling and battling social media, loving it as well. It's been, it's just such a crazy ride, isn't it, for a lot of us? So I'm always looking for ways to find new people to welcome into my community in a way that really feels authentic and real and productive. Really thinking it through and then doing some experiments and then taking what I've learned and turning it into something that works. So what has been working for me are 2 things mainly when it comes to marketing communication is my existing customers talk about my work and how they have been enjoying it to other people in the industry, and they then come in my direction, which is my preferred method. I love that. It's real, it's honest, it's warm. I love it. It's human, and it's also quite cheap. It's one of the best ways to do marketing. And then the second bit is that I literally go and talk to people where they're at. So I talk to the business owners when they're working. So that could be in their shop, that could be on a festival, or whatever you might call that, a market. And then I try to make myself not too intrusive. So I was thinking about a way, how can I make this work for both of us? So I'm going to interview them. And I'll do it quickly, and I'll ask them questions that help me get some insight in who they are, what they do, where they are in their journey, if they might want my help or can use my help. And at the same time, also conveying all of that to you as my listener, so that they then in turn get a little bit of an audience for their business. So then I first of all ask them, would you like to answer a bunch of questions for my podcast? I'll take 5 minutes of your time. You can cut me off at any moment. Any customer goes first. If you don't want to do it, it's fine. And that's kind of the way I approach people. And this particular day, there was one of the people I ended up interviewing was really, really shy. Definitely, well, shy might not be the word because I don't even know them well enough to say that. An introvert, absolutely an introvert, feeling not really comfortable in answering any questions. At the same time, she immediately expressed that she knows it's so important, but it's one of the things she doesn't feel that comfortable with. Of course, I then think there's so many things that I could help you with and do for you and figure things out, but that's not why I'm there at the moment. So I have to kind of curb my enthusiasm a little bit. And what I did in this case is I said, you know what, I'm just gonna walk around and I'll come back later and you can think it through if you want to do it or not. And I gave her some gentle nudges. I don't know what I said, but then I came back and she still needed some support. She was working there with somebody else. They were also supporting her in making this decision. The weird thing is, she did a wonderful job. It was so professional. She knew exactly what to say. Sometimes it's not that. Sometimes you just need to kind of take that leap and come from what they call a growth mindset and think about what will happen if I just take that leap and try it. So that was really interesting. And it was a good way to get to know each other, just showing that there was definitely no have to, and I wasn't going to put my microphone under her face and just start talking. So that's not my style. I think if you don't know who I am and I'm walking around there and I'm interviewing, I have a really, really small microphone on my phone. So it doesn't look super professional. And I guess some people might think, I don't know who you are, what the hell you're doing. I'm not interested. But for me, it works that it's not invasive. It's not aggressive. And so that's how I like to do it. Of course, the quality of the sound is not great. I always kind of cringe a little when people in podcasts apologize for sound. I'm like, yeah, that's just how things are. You don't need to apologize. So I'm not apologizing. I'm just letting you know if you're sensitive to creaking sounds, it's not great. The sound is not absolutely fabulous, and I don't think it needs to be. We're on a market, on a fair, so there's people in the background, but there is also a little bit of a creaking noise every now and then. But the interviews are quite short. So that's what I found out, interviewing people, speaking to them where they are, and then moving from that into keeping in touch with them later on, just letting them know that the episode is airing, or also just asking what they need. And sometimes, actually, a bunch of times in these interviews, I got so excited when they started talking about their business that I immediately wanted to share some thoughts with them or some things they might try or ideas. And what happened was, a bunch of these interviews, I just started to talk to them about their business. And I stopped myself and stopped the recording then. And there were just little nuggets of experience that I shared with them or ideas that I shared with them at the spot. And then the idea is that they'll be listening right now, and hopefully they'll listen to some other episodes I made, and hopefully they'll look into my community online and the services that I have to offer on my website. So that has kind of been the way forward for me, because as a business, I don't need that many clients. I just need a few. And I just love talking to people when they're doing what they love doing most. And I'm a huge problem solver. I'm a very creative mind, I can say. So I can be a great partner in all those kinds of things. So, it's just, it's my thing. I love it. And I'm really happy to have kind of embraced for myself that marketing is whatever works for you and your customers. And it's not a set of strict rules that you have to follow because everybody else is doing it. And it's always good that you take that to heart yourself as well. So every moment in my business is a moment and an opportunity where I learn. I'm not a guru by any means. I'm somebody with a specific set of talents. I'm creative. I have experience, and I love to help. And all of that I bring together in what I offer. So moving along swiftly, first of all, let me say this, because I wanted to interview her as well a little bit, but the day flew by, and basically, I just have some sound of us meeting at the door, and Françoise of Bad Catou Yarn invited me in. She's been one of my clients, and I've loved working with her. I love what she does, and it's an amazing person. And I wanted to say thank you, Françoise, for inviting me and offering me the little bracelet. You will hear that in a second. It's Dutch, but just for ambiance sake, I'm putting it in. Okay, so I've just arrived. I've parked the car. I've arrived at the Handwerkbeurs. And today I'm going to interview, hopefully, a bunch of small businesses in fiber crafts and slow fashion to see what they're up to this year and how things are going. So I hope you like this and have fun.
Je bent aan het opnemen nu ook?
Ja.
Ik durf al te praten. Wil je een bandje rond je pols?
Fijn. Ja.
Deze? Dankjewel.
Gaat dat zo?
Ja, tuurlijk.
We're starting off the interviews with Maaike from the Handwerk Temple, the Crafts Temple.
Yes. My name is Maaike. We are from the Handwerk Temple, a business who has been started by Sylvia Verhoef. And we exist about 3 years now. It was a long wish from our owner in combination with more sustainability in the crafts world. And to make a nice connection between sustainable yarn and accessible for everyone. So we have a big shop with lots of place for workshops, so everyone can join us.
You're called the Handwerk Temple, which means craft temple.
Yes, something like that, yes.
How would you say your business is different from another yarn business?
Well, first of all, we have a lot of sustainable yarn. So, for example, our seaweed, we are the only one now who sells the 100% seaweed yarn. We get it from Belgium and we dye it our own, so we can make every color. Lots of seaweed is only available now in a combination with, for example, cotton or in a plain color. And we have a big shop, a big place where everyone can come and join us for knitting, weaving, spinning, crocheting. And we like to give you advice and really help you with your project and not just sell yarn. We sell the package.
Nice. So why should I choose seaweed over
Cotton, yeah. For example, cotton is also a really nice yarn, but it is very evasive. It uses a lot of water. There are, how do you say it, chemicals they use to produce, and this is biological produce for as much as possible. We use cornstarch.
Cornstarch, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been used to uncolor the seaweed to make it, and then we color it back with Procion dye.
Yeah.
But in all, it's less invasive for the planet, and to make everything more sustainable, we need to make use of other resources.
Yeah. I don't know if you can answer this question, but what would you say is hard as a small business in this industry? What is a challenge for you?
The online business. There's a big business in online shops, and they want to sell you as much as possible for as low as possible. And we try to sell quality and service. So that's kind of the opposite of the online business. And that's what we are standing for, our service, our quality, but that's sometimes hard fight to the online shops.
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't have an online shop, just...
We have a shop. People can always email or contact us, and we are happy to send you a package.
Yeah.
But we are not competing in the online game, no.
Interesting.
Yes.
So interesting. Lovely.
Slow world, better. We have tried to do it, but you have to make a lot of costs for your online shop, and you have to make a lot of costs for your physical shop.
Yeah.
And that's a hard one.
Yeah.
So for now, we stuck on the physical shop, but it's still a possibility we are going to start an online shop.
Yeah.
But it's a balance. Yes.
Yeah, it's always
and the
about
amount of time and money and people and everything together.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this, and good luck with selling all these beautiful yarns.
So that was Maaike at the Handwerktemple. And we're moving on with Meerte from Frog Mouse Studio. Well, I've talked to Meerte a couple of times before on different occasions. She has the most adorable illustrations for her brand. So definitely check that out. Listen to Meerte.
My name's Meerte, and I run a hand-dyed yarn shop called Frog Mouse Studio.
What inspired you to start your studio?
So I've always been crafting. When I was little, my mum would send me to workshops in felting and stuff like that. And my grandma taught me how to knit. And then during the pandemic, I picked it back up. And I was like, I love this. I want to do this all the time. But you can only collect so much yarn before your house gets too small and you have to start selling it. So that's how we ended up here.
And how's the journey been so far?
It's been great. It's such a nice group of people. You see all the same people at market, so you can make a chat with other store owners and then customers that come back, and it's really fun to see what everyone's been making. So the longer this goes on, the more I see what people have made with my yarn, and that's just really fun.
Amazing. What's your biggest challenge in running your business, you'd say?
Welcome to the ad section. Here at Pattern Shift, I do not work with sponsors. I'm not the kind of content creator that makes a living in this way. I use my podcast to reach as many people as possible that might need my help, small business owners in the fiber craft community. What I will do is talk about my services and products throughout my episodes and sometimes in little ads like these. You'll hear me talk about my community, about my bullet journal workshop, my one-on-one services, my coaching and mentoring. I even build websites. If you need more information on any of this, go to patternshift.fm or ja-vol.com and you'll find everything you need to get in touch with me. If you go to the show notes page, there's a button you can click and you can leave me a voice message, which I love. It's super easy. Just click record, leave your name and email, and I'll send you a voice recording back. Any question you have, anything you want to say about the podcast, just click the button and leave me a message. I'm here waiting to help.
I think it's balancing this, which is, it's a hobby, it's not a living wage. So it's balancing putting enough time into this to make it work with working a day job where you would actually want to spend more time on this, but you can't really do that.
Yeah,
so that's pretty difficult. So.
Yeah. So what would be your vision for the future?
So on short term, I would like to buy bigger quantities of yarn so I can do actual sweater quantities instead of just a few skeins. But largely, I would like to have a physical store where I can have workshops and actually do this for a living instead of just as a hobby.
Great. Last question. What would you say makes your brand different from other brands?
I think mostly I despise neutral colors. Not to wear, but for dyeing, it has to be bright colors all the time. The 4 or 5 neutrals that I dye are the least fun time I have dyeing. So definitely more color is more better.
More color, more better. Thank you so much, Mirte.
Yeah, no worries.
That was Mirte, and definitely more color is more better. So we're moving on with Petra. She is the owner of Wat Wolly.
I am Petra Ruiter. My brand is Wat Wolly, which means what do you want? But it's also a pun on wool.
Yeah.
I'm a hand dyer. I dye mostly sock yarn and a little bit of non-superwash yarns, and I also spin yarn from Dutch wool. And I have a small collection of lead looping because it matches my hand spot up very well.
I love that. Yeah. My favorite thing. But it's not about me. So, what inspired you to start your business in the first place?
There were 2 reasons.
Yeah.
One was I couldn't find hand-dyed yarn which suited my projects, so I started dyeing my own. And then Corona happened, and my work stopped temporarily. And I thought, what are we going to do? I'm going to dye yarn. And my husband said, but where are you going to keep all that yarn? Because you will never knit all all that yarn. So why don't you sell it? And I thought, well, why not?
Why not?
Yeah. Let's see if we can make a business out of this, and I maybe can even live out of it. But that's not the case, but I still like it.
So that's the next question, actually. What is your biggest challenge in running this business so far?
Very
Lots of them.
lots of them. Yeah, it's
So do you want to be able to live from what you do, or is it something extra, or?
I would like to live out of it, but I want to sell different things. I'm now mostly living out of from the stockyard. That's the biggest income is from the stockyard, but I would like it to be something else.
Right.
And that's my biggest challenge. I would like to spin yarn and sell that.
So that's actually my last question. What's your vision for the future?
Spinning yarn.
Spinning yarn and selling yarn.
Dutch yarn, local. Well, it doesn't even have to be Dutch, but local yarn.
Yeah.
From local sheep, dyed by me.
Spun.
Yes. It'd be nice if I could spin it all and living out of that. But yeah, that's not the case.
And it's like, you know, the questions I'm going to ask, because the last one is, how is your business different?
I dye things I would like to wear and things I like to dye. I wear a lot of music colors, greens, and I'm thinking a lot about pooling because I'm a sweater knitter, not a sock knitter.
Right.
So I do not want my yarns to pool, so I have a big focus on that.
Yeah.
So I think that's different.
Yeah, a lot of people. A conscious way of how you dye your yarn so that pooling is minimal.
Yeah, minimalized. Yes, that's correct.
Never
no. It's minimalized. And I dyed some neons because I love dyeing neons, but I'm not one to wear it.
Yeah.
And I think a collection of non-superwash yarns and some spun yarns from local wool. I think that's different.
Yeah. Sounds like a very passionate creator.
Yes.
Yeah. How's that for the business part? Are you very passionate business?
No. Not at all. Because I would like to sell my spun yarn from local wool, but people find it too expensive.
Yeah.
I don't think it's too expensive. No. Well, it is a lot of money, but I don't think it's too expensive for what you're getting. But I'd rather give it away to someone that's very enthusiastic than selling it for less. I'm not selling it for less.
There's a lot of education that comes in with the selling.
Yeah.
I think there's an audience for everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really hard to acknowledge that the people that you are trying to sell to now might not be that audience.
No, I know.
And that's
very difficult to...
completely mindfuck.
Yeah, but
sorry.
I'm really struggling to say, I'm not doing Sakjak anymore, no more nylon, I don't want this. I'm just going to sell.
I think
Because-
this is going beyond the interview, but
Yeah,
I'm just
okay.
going to keep it. Actually, I'm going to stop interviewing.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck.
That was Petra, hand-dyed, hand-spun yarn. Is there an audience for that? I think so. What are your thoughts? Send me a message and let me know. So lastly, we'll talk to Ingrid. She is running Ikke, which is also a pun kind of brand name. It's basically her name split in two. We did the interview in Dutch. So I'll first start off with the translation of the interview, after which you can listen to us speaking Dutch if you find that interesting. And then after that, I'll come back with the conclusions and some thoughts and ideas for these businesses. Ingrid has only had her business for a year. It looks quite professional in terms of her branding. She's got consistent branding on her skein bands and on her drop in the back of her stall, and it looks really neat and tidy and clean, and it has good contrast, so you can immediately see what brand it is when you pass past the stall. I did notice that she has, because she is actually hand dyeing cotton. This is quite unique in our field, at least where I live, because people usually use wool because of different reasons, but we don't get to see hand dye cotton a lot. So she had that actually on a banner on the side of her stall. I think it would be more visible if it was moved up, because it's definitely a unique selling point for her. She offers 2 different thicknesses, and she starts by designing crochet kits for amigurumi, crocheted animals, and she felt like she didn't have the fun colors that she would see in wool, and so she started to dye them herself. That is how her business started. And then for the future, she's thinking about expanding into designing more clothing kits with yarn and bigger amounts, because obviously as a business, it's better to sell larger amounts at the same time. I got the idea, and I think that she was saying that it's restricted if you're just working with amigurumi. She wanted to move a little bit beyond that, and also offering her yarns to different crafters, not only crochet, but knitters and weavers alike. So here's Ingrid.
Ja, ik ben leiding en sportster uit de buitenrichting.
Ikke. En waarom werd je geïnspireerd om Ikke te beginnen?
Ik ben een paar jaar geleden begonnen met haken. En dat vond ik leuk. En toen zag ik hele leuke garen. Maar het is allemaal wol. En dat is niet handig voor beestjes. En toen ben ik zelf gaan verven.
Dus jij verft. Wat voor materiaal?
100% katoen. Ik heb 2 verschillende diktes. En dus 400 meter op 100 gram. En 200 meter op 100 gram.
Wat maakt jouw merk anders dan alle anderen? Je hebt het antwoord eigenlijk al gegeven.
Het is 100% katoen.
En handgeverfd.
En handgeverfd. Ja.
Ja, dus handgeverfd katoen om mee te haken. Dus daar kan je dan ook wel mee draaien.
Ja. En weven heb ik ook al gehad. Ja.
Precies. Maar dit zie je gewoon echt weinig tot niet.
Klopt.
Dus je hebt wel echt een unieke positie.
Ja.
En hoe lang geleden ben je begonnen?
Een jaar.
Een jaar pas. En het ziet er al zo uit.
Ja.
Wauw.
Dankjewel.
Ik ben echt onder de indruk. En je hebt ook een heel duidelijk logo.
Ja.
En ben je daar veel mee bezig met dat springen?
Ja, daar ben ik veel mee bezig. En ik wil wel de herkenbaarheid.
Ja.
Dit vind ik belangrijk. Dat inderdaad de herkenbaarheid van het product. En dat ook inderdaad mensen dat makkelijk willen vinden.
Ja, precies. Ja. Want ik zie ook een banner achter je stand. Waarbij heel duidelijk je logo weer terugkomt. Wat je ook ziet bij de vaders. Wat vind jij moeilijk aan je bedrijf, Bruna?
Dat is een uitdaging, laat ik het zo zeggen.
De uitdaging is inderdaad de balans vinden. Want het stukje verven, ik vind de kleuren heel leuk. Alleen ik verf niet alleen voor mezelf. Tuurlijk verf ik ook voor mezelf, maar ook voor een ander. En ik ben wel heel erg mijn interpretatie. En dat hoort natuurlijk ook bij je eigen bedrijf. Maar daarbij zal iemand die van echt helemaal effen houdt, ja, dat zal bij mij niet...
Nee, want het zijn variegated yarns, noemen we dat, hè? Ja. En dus heb je ook self-striping. Ja, omdat als je kleine rondjes haakt, dan wordt het snel al een beetje.
Dat heb ik gehad. Alleen vind ik qua verf heel intensief. Dus daar heb ik eigenlijk als alternatief de minis voor. Dat je dus inderdaad eigenlijk zelf je kleuren bij elkaar kan zoeken. En dus inderdaad zelf kan beslissen wat jij qua kleurcombinaties.
Ja, precies. Nou, het ziet er echt fantastisch uit. Je bent een jaar bezig, dus heb je doelen voor komend jaar? Of heb je een visie? Waar wil je heen?
Ik wil heel graag meer kledingstukken haken en breien.
Ja.
Meer ook omdat je hebt hele leuke graden en op een beestje staat het heel erg leuk. Maar ja, als kleding, sjaals, mutsen is het net zo leuk.
Dankjewel en succes.
Dank je.
Let's bring them all together. Let's start with Maaike at the Handwerktempel. What they do is they focus on sustainability. They're offering 100% seaweed yarn. How cool is that? And creating a space for workshop. Their big challenge is competing with online shop that push for low prices over quality. And their vision is finding the balance between their physical shop and the possibility of going online someday. Now, what I got from that conversation was fear about being online and selling online. But what I also heard was that they have this unique product that they are in fact now offering to a limited amount of people, just their community. I think they should definitely look into having an online shop and combining the two. And I don't think it's as scary as they think it is, especially if you have a Shopify web shop that really combines everything with a point of sale system. I love that. It just works seamlessly, and there's limited amounts of work to get it all going. So that was the thing that struck me most in this short conversation. Then there's Meerte from Frogmouse Studio. What she does is she offers hand-dyed yarns in bright, bold colors, and her big challenge is to balance the passion project with a day job. Her vision for the future is offering bigger quantities of yarn so that people can make full projects, and eventually running a physical shop with workshops. What struck me most is that balancing part of passion with a day job. So she's really figuring out, how much money do I push into this? How much is coming out? What is worth pursuing? And what decisions do I make in the future? She would love to offer bigger quantities of yarn, and that means that she is limited in buying the undyed yarn in the amounts that she wants to have. So there's something to learn there and to connect a strategy to. Then next was Petra Ruiter of What it's hard to say in Dutch when you're speaking English, Wat Wolly. And what she does is she sells hand-dyed and hand-spun yarns, or she wants to do that, but she now also sells hand-dyed yarns and sock yarns and some let low be a mix of different yarns. She wants to sell purely spinning hand-dyed yarns in the future. And her big challenge is that to make that financially sustainable, because it is a very valuable product when you first spin it and then dye it, or the other way around. And how can that work? When we were talking, I said, there's always a way. I mean that. I think there's always a customer for what you have to sell. And sometimes the customer is not who you think it is. These kinds of yarns might be amazing for fashion designers or fiber artists, like in another area, the artists that do weaving and need particular yarns. She could potentially spin and dye to order for specific people. So it's not necessarily those crafters that come to a yarn shop that want to knit a sweater. So there's something to work around there. And then lastly, it is Ingrid from Ikke. She sells 100% hand-painted cotton yarns in vibrant colors and different thicknesses. She mentioned her biggest challenge is balancing creativity with what customers want. And her vision is expanding into clothing items and growing a recognizable brand. Now, she has just started with this business, so there's lots of things to learn, but she also has got a really good mind for business, as I could tell. So she's got another job that brings in the money. I think she knows where she's going. It's a matter of making a strategy of how to get to the point where you can do more of what you love and less of that other job. All right. These were the 4 people that I talked to. A lot of them quite new to the scene. A bunch of them had started their business during COVID, dyeing for themselves, becoming aware that you can only dye so much for yourself before you start accumulating too much hand-dyed yarn and then selling that. They had definitely some overlap in how they approach colors, in dyeing bright colors and fun colors because it's just more fun to dye. And some of them are actually thinking about what the audience wants. Others were more focused on what they love to dye and wear. And there was a little bit of overlap, but also a little bit of difference in that. Lots of bold colors, by the way. So there's definitely some awareness about sustainability in one way or another. Just balancing things out for themselves and in their business. There's always a little bit of an open mind towards being more sustainable. So that was good to hear. Not all of that came across in the interviews. Sometimes I had a little bit longer conversations where that was said. The bigger picture we can say is that these businesses are really driven by creativity and fun, but they're also really starting to notice the challenges of scaling up without losing the personal touch, educating customers about the value and the prices, and also balancing their passion with making a living. Because some of them really do this as a hobby still and are trying to figure out, or are actually practically at this moment figuring out what it means to spend so many hours and earning this amount of money and what that means to them and their other job or other responsibilities. So these conversations really reminded me why I love doing what I do. I remember myself at that point so well. And I also remember the drive that I had to figure it out, to go on this trial and error. And perhaps if I do this, perhaps if I do that, and then building things on top of other things and figuring it out. And it's just amazing, but also so much hard work, to a point where sometimes it gets so much hard work that the fun and the creativity of it is pushed to the back. And that's where I come in, and that's where I now am in my happy place and listening to them and thinking, okay, we can work with this. We can work with this. There's so many things that we can do to get you to that next level, or just get things clear for you. Basically building routes or a strategy, or figuring out what your goals are, or even figuring out what the hell a goal is in business, because sometimes that's where we start, just really figuring out the basics, and we can do it as we go, which I have done. But now I know some shortcuts, and I'm really itching in these conversations to I'm almost jumping on them like, let's sit down and work at this. And sometimes I invited them for a call so that we can talk about it some more. I have such a weird business for people in this industry because they're not at all used to like mentoring, teaching, coaching in terms of business. That's not really a thing. It might be in the corporate world, but that's not at all what I do. What we know of business coaching, I have a different approach. And so I'm trying to sell my product to people that don't really know that they might need it. I'm making it really hard for myself. I could do so many other things, but I want to do this because it really excites me. And I hope that you've been inspired by their stories as well, and that you want to join in on this conversation. You can do so by reacting to the podcast and just talking to me, or joining our community on ja-vol.com, or just patternshift.fm for that matter. You'll find it there as well. And if you join our community, you'll get in a place with other people that are going through the same thing. And let me tell you, there is so much we can learn from each other without even getting into each other's spaces. Because sometimes people like us feel a little bit scared. They're introverted. They're shy. They feel like they want to protect their business with everything they have because people are copying things. You are not sharing anything you don't want to share. And at the same time, we can still really support each other in really practical, but also some more deeper things like philosophy about what we do and those kinds of things. In addition to that, we do not forget the crafter behind the seller. So all these people, all the people that run these businesses are crafters themselves. In the community, you can learn about fibers, you can learn about different kinds of things. I recently made this whole stash challenge so you can really get your stash, your personal stash in order, or for that matter, your professional stash. So there's a lot of fun in the community. It's a really low entry. Feel free to join and hang out with us. And if you want to work with me to figure things out one-on-one, that's definitely a possibility. And of course, I do bullet journal workshops because I think if anything, start by organizing your life and your work and being mindful about it. And the bullet journal is the best method to do it. So I have bullet journal workshops as well. All right, I'm wrapping it up. Thank you so much for listening. And if you want to invite me to any fair, market, or whatever, let me know and I'll be happy to come over and interview you and your peers. Bye.